Looks like I have a visitor today. He's been circling me. I'm out at Cowling Park, and it's right outside of Columbus. It's in one of the small towns. And this squirrel is just circling me, but let's get into what we're gonna talk about today. If you remember before, I talked about organized religion, I talked about chastising people, and we talked about my fraternity, which is Freemasonry. I told you that I would let you know, and now this little guy is over here, right by my feet. I don't know what he wants. He's been rooting in a garbage can, and he keeps coming around me. I don't want to have one of those incidents you see where it crawls up your leg and, you know, attacks you. I don't think that's the case, but I'm just watching him. But anyway, we were going to go over how I came to become a Freemason. And I think that's important for my grandson to know. My daughters, they know some of it, but not all of it. So that's what we're going over today. If that's something that interests you, you'd like to stick around, great. If not, again, go ahead and click off, and no hard feelings. But if you could do something for me, it's free, it costs you nothing, and I've got away from this. But you've been on here for about a minute. Go ahead and just click that little thumb thingy, up or down, doesn't matter to me. Again, if you don't want to continue on with the video, I understand. Go ahead and click off, and no hard feelings. I guess we should start at the beginning. My kids have never heard of this, but my mother used to drop us off, and we'd have summer activities, and she would drop us off at like Vacation Bible School or the library sometimes, and we'd have to be there for an extended amount of time, a lot of times by ourselves. I don't know if that would be considered child abuse. Now there's two of these things coming around. Yeah, I'm not taking too much of a chance. I think I better go walking. So I'm gonna pack this up a little bit, take some of this stuff back to my truck, and then we'll continue on with the story. I decided just to move spots. I decided just to get up and get out to the playground, and it seems like the squirrels have left. So let's get back to it. My mother used to drop us off. It would be Vacation Bible School, could be the gym, which is where I started this journey at. It sometimes was the library. I never knew where she was gonna drop us off. But what happened was I'm in the gym, and she would drop me off at about 8 o'clock. And the reason she had to drop me off, I'm 15 now, 15, 16 by now. I think I was 15. And she would drop us off. Well, she dropped me off because, like I told you, I wasn't the best kid, and I was getting into fights all the time. And they were trying to diagnose what was going on. And the doctor had told them if they, well, the psychiatrist or psychologist or whatever you want to call it, that if they kept me in a high school young environment, that it would destroy me. That's how I got the diagnosis that I had. So she took me around grown people, and I met a couple bodybuilders. That's how I got started in the gym, things like that. I was a hyper kid. Still to this day, I just have more energy than the normal person per se, most of the time. People are like, I don't know how you do it. I can't keep up with you. And I'm sure there's a bunch of people that all have more energy than me, but I have a lot of energy. So I'm at this gym, and I'm working out. this gym is in Huntsville, Alabama. And I'm working out with this guy called, well, not called. I used to work out with Mr. Alabama and Mr. Huntsville. I forget the name of the gym, but it was just like anything they renamed or rebranded. It was one of those gyms that today would have smoothies. They'd have all the gym equipment upstairs. They had bikes and things downstairs. They had racquetball courts, Lifetime or Lifestyle. It was that back in the late 80s, early 90s, mid to late 80s. I'm working out with this guy one day, and it was a new ring he had, and it had this compass and it had a square on it, and then it had a big G in the middle. And for some reason my heart said, hey, ask him about it, see what this is. What does that ring mean? Because some people have class rings, some people have just gems, some people have initial rings. When we were growing up, you had the big pinky ring was the thing with the diamond on it. You know, you saw all the pimps and stuff have those. So I asked him, I said, hey, what is this ring? What does it mean? He said, this is my fraternity. I said, well, what is it? And he said, it's Freemasonry. I said, Freemasonry? I said, what's it about? He was like, he said, it reminds me to be a good man. I said, well, I'm trying to be a good man. How can I join? What is it all about? He said, I can't tell you much more than that. So I said, oh, okay, well, what can you tell me? How can I join this? He says, well, you have to be 21. At the time it was 21. You have to be 21. You have to be a good man. I said, okay. And that was it. That's all he told me. I didn't know anything else. So I grow up, we moved from Alabama to Columbus, and years go by. You know, I'm in school, get out of school, start a career, and then my kids, me and their mom split up, and she remarried, with another person, and I married her, and I had 2 jobs at the time. So I'm working 2 jobs and I'm going to school. I worked workers' comp for one job, and then I had a lawn care business. No, this is before the lawn care. I was working at workers' comp, and then I worked at, I think, Marshall's as a second job, trying to bring in money. And I was taken to court for child support. And when I went to court for child support, they said, this is how much you owe. And it was about half of my take-home pay is what I owed for child support. I said, well, I just have to quit the second job or something. I got to make more money. And they said, I don't care how many jobs you have. You can have 100 jobs, but this is what you have to pay. And I determined right then and there that I needed to go back to school. But the other restriction was I couldn't see my kids if I went back to school. I know it sounds crazy, but that's what the judge said. It's in my paperwork. I couldn't go back to school or do anything unless, if I did, I would not see them. I said, all right. I said, well, I've got to go back to school because I can't work these 2 jobs. I think at the time one was paying 12 and the other was paying 10. I'm working full-time at one and then part-time at another, and I think I was bringing home maybe $1,500 a month. It was like 100 and something every week at Marshall's, and then my take-home would be for 2 weeks maybe $800 after taxes from the workers' comp place, right? And at that time, it wasn't good money. It definitely wasn't good money, but it was getting me by. What I ended up doing was I immediately quit the second job. Once I quit that second job, I needed another form of income. And I didn't see my kids for like it was like 9 months, because we had a drop-off place, and she decided, well, you can't see your kids. If you want to, you'll have to take me to court. Otherwise, I'm not gonna let you see them. I'm the mother, I have parental rights. I said, okay, so we went back to court. That's what happened. Once I quit that second job, I ended up finding a school where I could go and make it out in 2 years. I needed 2 years. I didn't have 4 years. I made it 2 years, but the judge had finally said that I could start getting the local rule. And the local rule was you get them every Wednesday from like 5 to 8, and you got them every other weekend, and then like 1 year you get them the first part of whatever holiday it was. The next year you get them the second half of the holiday. So we were doing that for a little bit. In the meantime, I went back to school. Got into a school. I'm sitting in class with a gentleman, and we're talking, and it's near the end of the 2 years I'm about to graduate. And he said, you know, we'd BS around and talking things. And he had the same symbol I had saw when I was 15 on his license plate. I said, hey man, how did you get that plate? Told him the story about, you know, going to the gym, my mom, all of that stuff. And he said, well, there's a series of things that you have to go through, and you have to kind of be vetted. I said, okay. I said, well, how do I get vetted? He said, you have to know somebody. I said, well, I know you. So he said, yeah. He said, but I kind of have to know you a little bit better. I said, all right. So we watched each other, we kept talking, we exchanged numbers, we're going to classes, we're about to graduate, we're working on our projects, and every week I'd bug this guy. What are the steps that I need to go through to become a Freemason? And he said, well, I have to get a petition for you. So you have to apply for it. And there's people that have to sign off on it. I said, well, hey, I'd really like to do this. What is it all about? He told me a little bit more about it. Same thing the other guy said. Hey, got to be a good man, have to be 21. And we kind of watch everything. Okay, I can do that. I'm about to graduate. Bring me the petition. So I bugged him for another 3 weeks about this petition. He brings in the petition, he signed it, and then his uncle was one, and he was some higher up in my lodge. I said, hey, let's do this. So he turned it in. Now, mind you, I'm thinking that this is gonna be a couple weeks, it was going to be pretty easy. I looked stuff up online, just like probably a lot of you have done. Thought that I knew a lot about it. I didn't know anything. It really blew me away. So my petition goes in, and I'm waiting. It's like 3 months later now. I've graduated, and me and this gentleman have exchanged numbers. So I called him again. I said, hey, what's going on with this petition? He said, well, they have to meet. We're closed right now. This went on for about 9 months. So it takes a while. If you're thinking about doing this, it takes a while. And I had to bug this guy. They finally reached out to me in an email and said, hey, we want to meet. We have to meet you. I said, okay, no problem. So they met me, we had a conversation, and it was a couple people. And they came out and vetted me, saw what I was all about, how I talked, just myself. And different lodges do things different. So let me explain this. No one's gonna come to recruit you if that's what you are looking for. We don't do that. We don't go and recruit a bunch of people and pass out flyers and all this other stuff. It's not like that. They sent me that email. I met with them once. Another couple months goes by. I mean, it took me a while to do this, to complete everything I needed to complete. After I met with them, then they had to meet with my family, and everyone had to be there. My kids had to be there. My wife at the time, she had to be there, and they had to meet at the house. So you couldn't like go to a restaurant. They wanted to see where you lived, how you lived. Was there any like drug use, alcoholism, whatever was going on in your life? They wanted to know this stuff because they're about to vet you in and, you know, to this fraternity. So a couple months went by again with that. They said, well, we think you'd be a good fit. Well, let me back up. They left the house. They didn't say anything. A couple more weeks went by. I got a call, said, this is your next step. We have to meet at our lodge and see if this is something that everybody else is open to. There's a lot of things that I can tell you, but there's a lot of things that I can't tell you. So I will tell you the things that I can tell you. And this is one of them. They met and they went to lodge, and that happened once. And then they called me and said, okay, you're through the first phase. Give us a couple more weeks. We'll go through the second phase. So they went through the second phase, and they said, you're good. Everyone decided that you were okay. You can join our lodge, which my lodge is the oldest working lodge in Ohio. The oldest working lodge in Ohio. Let that sink in, because there's some things that I'm gonna tell you that may deter you, or you may ask more questions about Freemasonry. So now I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm ready. You know, I've been waiting for this since I was 15. What else can happen? They said, okay, well, before we go to your initiation, we'd like to meet you. Now, at this time, my lodge was merging with another lodge, and they had this party, and it was like a dinner. So they had this dinner with dancing, and it was where everyone was coming together to see who's coming up. Let the two lodges meet and come together as one, and it was a beautiful thing. Dinner was a beautiful thing. The next thing after that dinner was something called on the threshold. And on the threshold means that I am at the door. I am just about there, but I'm not there yet. I think you know what I'm talking about. I am standing on the porch. I'm asking to come in, and I have to wait again. So again, this took a while. This took me quite a bit to get everything taken care of. So I finally get on the threshold. I go to this dinner. I get a little plaque. I get some other stuff, and they give me another call. Said, here is your date to start your work, for us to do the first part of what you need in order to be a Mason. I said, okay. And they gave me that date. They told me what I needed to wear, and I met on that date. I think this is a good stopping point, just to let you know kind of what happened, kind of what's going on, and just give you a little bit more insight into my life and how I did that. So again, these are mainly for my grandson, so that he knows who I am, because I get to see him once a year maybe. His other grandfather, he gets to see him a lot. I get to see him once or twice a year. So with that being said, this is why I do these videos. It's so that I can continue to have a connection with my grandson and my granddaughter, because she watches them too. And for my kids, because some of these stories they don't know. But that's what happened. So that's the first part. We'll go on, I'll do a second part, and we'll just continue on with this. But essentially, that's what happened to me. I had to ask, and our motto is ask one to know one. So if you don't ask, no one's gonna come up to you and run up and say, hey, would you like to be a Mason? No, we're watching to see what kind of man you are. We wanna see how you carry yourself. We wanna see if you're interested, if it's play, if you're just trying to find out the secrets, or if you're really serious about becoming a better man. And since I was 15, with my dad's help and all the other men in my life, I've always been serious about becoming a better man. So it never has been an issue for me. I wanted to be a Mason since I was 15. And now that I am a Mason, I like it even more. I love my fraternity. I will always, whether anyone likes it or not, I'll always be a Mason. Now, the last part that I'll give you, this next part that I'm gonna tell you about is, we'll save it for the next time. So, I hope everyone is having a good day. Until next time, and you know, there will be a next time. I'm out.